For the last week and some change, Iran and Israel's conflict has dominated the markets and has affected crypto more than anything else. Well, over the weekend, we did have some positive news as a ceasefire was dealt, causing Bitcoin to fly up back above $105,000 per coin, causing several altcoins to rally once again. However, within the first couple of hours of the ceasefire being signed, there's already violations of it, causing many traders to be concerned that the ceasefire could cease to exist, making them wonder, what does this mean for their crypto bags? Well, in today's video, we're going to cover the details of that news along with some other news that could affect your crypto portfolio. We're going to talk about what the charts are telling us and what you need to know. So stick around for the entire video. Make sure if you enjoy it to smash the like button and hit subscribe. All right, let's go. Now, before we get into the meat of today's video, I do want to remind you that no matter what the market ends up doing, chaos is still an opportunity to make some money if you are a trader. And that's something we prioritize here at the Investing Bros Group, is ways to make money no matter what the markets look like. And the exchange that we use to trade is BloFin. And there's no better time than right now to start using BloFin with the link down below. In 2 days, there will be a new trading competition called the War of Whales with a prize pool of over $4.2 million. When you sign up and start trading with the Bros community, you can be a part of the prize pool if our team does win, but we need your help. Every single person would help. So make sure you sign up with the link down below to join the Bros community in trading on BloFin. There'll be prizes for P&L. There'll be prizes for most volume traded. Come join the team. Start trading the chaos today. Now, if for some reason you guys have been sleeping for the last week and you need a synopsis of what's been going on, let me quickly lay it out for you. Last week, we did have an attack between Israel and Iran, and the big fear and concern was that America would be dragged into the war. Well, all of a sudden, our fears were realized when Donald Trump, the president of the United States, issued an attack on Iran, dropping 3 bombs. On this news, we saw Bitcoin drop below 100,000. We saw cryptos collapse to levels we have not seen in several months, causing the bears to come out saying the bear market is here, bull market is over, sell your crypto while you can. Of course, on Sunday, we had an emergency video where we updated you guys on everything that was happening. And in that video, I did tell people, while there was no guarantee of what was to come, that these types of dips often seem to be little bits of bear traps that honestly end up bouncing back to the upside. But I caution people, if you were overextended in the crypto markets, it's time to sell. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you made a mistake about investing too much money into crypto and you've put yourself in a bad position, that is something that we do not recommend whatsoever. While we are not financial advisors, we do want to help people try to make as wise of decisions as possible. And at the time being, even though we had a lot of suspicion that the Iran-Israel conflict was not going to be as bad as some people feared, we still like to preach caution here at the Investing Bros channel, making sure you are never putting more eggs in the basket than you can handle to carry. Well, our prediction ended up being somewhat correct, as within the next 24 hours after the bombs had been dropped by the United States, Donald Trump called for a ceasefire, and all of a sudden the market started to shoot back up. But again, the major concern today is we have found out within the last couple of hours that Iran and Israel have not necessarily stopped the attacks. However, the markets are not yet dropping. And I think the big reason for that, and we're going to get into the charts here in just a couple of minutes, is honestly the biggest concern from the last week was what the U.S. involvement would be. I told you guys that Donald Trump would have to play the game that he would be considering attacking Iran so that all options were on the table. I firmly still believe that Donald Trump never wanted a full-out war. He never wanted American troops to be deployed into Iran, but he had to play the game of making people think that was a possibility. That way, he has the chips on the table so that he can win all of the odds. With that said, now that we're watching Iran and Israel violate this ceasefire, we are seeing the president get extremely frustrated, even dropping some colorful language in front of the press this morning about his frustration with both Israel and Iran. The reason the markets are staying up is because this time, instead of Trump and the United States seeming to back Israel, it looks like he is going to urge them to respect the ceasefire and completely remove America from the equation. This is causing several people to gain confidence in the markets, and it's one of the reasons why, even right now as I'm shooting this video, Bitcoin is on a little bit of a rally. However, There's other reasons in the news that we could see crypto get another positive response. Before I get to the good part of the news, I got to start with the bad stuff. And the bad stuff is that Jerome Powell did speak this morning. For those who don't know, Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve and has been kind of at odds with Donald Trump over whether we should have rate cuts or not. And I think that there's a great synopsis of what he said this morning, if you missed it, from the Cabesi letter. These are some different remarks that he made this morning. First of all, he said the Fed is well positioned to wait and see on rate cuts. Now, I'm going to kind of tease the next bit of information. Not all of the Fed members agree with Jerome Powell, but this is what he said this morning. They're in a good position to wait and to see. He also said that tariffs are likely to push up inflation and have weight on economy. There's no immediate signal of interest rate cuts provided. The labor market conditions have remained solid. Inflation has eased but remains somewhat elevated. There's ultimately a synopsis that Powell is saying we're going to wait until later to have some cuts. Now, this is very curious that I'm looking at this. In case you didn't know, inflation at the moment is sitting at 2.4%. So when he says still somewhat elevated, I'm curious as to what this means. We're pretty much at the exact same levels we were at in the fall of 2024 when he did a 50-point cut right before the US elections. I'm not going to get into the politics here. I just want to throw that out in front of you. And you guys tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are of Jerome's remarks, saying that we're still somewhat elevated, despite the fact we're at the same level we were last fall. But like I also said, while Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Fed, it's not like all of his members agree with him. In fact, last Friday, we had a report that Fed Waller has come out saying that he believes July cuts should and could be on the table. Today, he is joined by Michelle Bowman, who also is calling for interest rate cuts in July due to tariffs possibly having smaller effects than expected. This is the exact opposite of what Jerome Powell just said in his remarks this morning, where he said he thinks that inflation could still be coming. However, people within his own ranks are coming out and saying that it's very evident that inflation is actually not in as much jeopardy as Jerome Powell would like you to believe. Now, in the past, I've been a defendant of Jerome Powell. I think that Jerome Powell, for the most part over the last 3 years, has done the best job that he can do while remaining mostly unbiased. However, over the last couple of months, there have been several questions that even I am asking of Jerome Powell that is more about a rivalry with Donald Trump than it is making wise decisions. Back in 2024, he continued to say we need to process the incoming data and we can't think about too far into the future. All of a sudden now in 2025, it seems like all of his decisions are coming from fear of what could be in the future and not on the present data. I think this is going to continue to fuel some fire and some chaos in the political realm over whether Jerome Powell should be fired or let go from his position, or should he be allowed to continue his position. But in a nutshell, the good news is that Jerome Powell does not decide by himself what future rate cuts will look like. While he is the chairman of the Fed and he is the face of the Fed, there are several voting members, and with several of them coming out saying July could be interesting for rate cuts, there is that possibility back on the table we're going to have to continue to monitor over the next couple of weeks. Before we get into the charts, the reason why that is significant is because we have told you for a very long time now. There are two major criteria that the altcoins need to sustain an altcoin season. Number one is regulatory clarity. And with recent remarks from Bessent and other officials in the United States government, we have now clarity on stablecoins. More clarity is going to be coming for the crypto space as a whole. That side of the box seems to be checked. Institutions are going to be a lot more comfortable coming out and putting their value into the altcoin space. But the second thing we've told you needs to happen is for added liquidity. That could come from two different places. Number one, it could come from money printing. That will happen if the big, beautiful bill is passed, which, by the way, I think we're still on board for that to happen in the next couple of weeks or months. But the other would be the Fed finally cutting rates, lowering those interest rates, allowing people to borrow money at lower levels, injecting the markets with more money. Either way, it's not a sure thing at the moment that altcoin season is ready to start, but I do still continue to see the dominoes falling in that direction. There's been some chaos with Elon Musk and Trump, and then Iran and Israel, but all of these events seem to be big factors for about 1 week and then go away, causing me to continue to believe that market makers and market manipulators are hard at work. They know something big is coming. When? That's the question. But for now, all we can do as retail investors is continue to process the news, process the charts, wait and be patient, And that's all we know how to do, and that's what we're going to continue to do for the next couple of weeks. With that said, though, let's get into the charts and take a look at what is happening over there. Starting off on the Bitcoin charts, of course, we did drop down below $100,000 for the first time, again, since all the way back here in early May. But as I said, this V-bottom shape has looked very much like what we call a bear trap, where bears seemed extremely confident back here a couple days ago, and now it looks like we're pushing to the upside. Even zooming in here on the 1 hour chart, you can see that we had formed a symmetrical triangle pattern. But even at the time of making this video, it looks like we are breaking above that level of resistance. And if this pattern ends up playing out its full potential of a bull pennant, this could send the price of Bitcoin over the next couple of days all the way back up towards $112,000. Now, while that news is phenomenal, there's also a little bit of warning I need to bring to the table to be completely transparent and honest with you about what Bitcoin's chart looks like. As much as I love those lower time frames, I am slightly concerned about what the weekly chart is showing us. If we go to the Lux Algo Oscillator, the greatest trading tool out there that you can have, we do have the precipice of a sell signal on the weekly chart with a red reversal, bearish momentum that closed last week, and a money flow bubble that looks like it's getting ready to pop. For example, if you would have traded the last two bearish signals, you would have sold Bitcoin on December 16th of 2024, and also back here on March 18th of 2024. Even though we had another rally early into January, anyone who's sitting here saying that they could have sold Bitcoin in December or March would love to go back and take that opportunity. At the same time, though, there are times in the weekly chart sell signals that we end up seeing a little bit of a misdirection. For example, there was a sell signal that happened back on January 1st in 2024 that would have wrecked every trader, as the fundamentals of Bitcoin and the launching of the ETFs sent us to much higher levels before any major correction. So ultimately, as we look at this sell signal coming in over the last week, you have to ask the question, is this like a December or March sell signal, or is this more like a January sell signal? The fundamentals of Bitcoin and the fundamentals of crypto could be about to hit a major milestone. Either way, whether we correct now or later, there will be some form of a pullback based on the weekly overbought signals at the time. But the question is going to be, is the time right now, or will we see a rally potentially up towards 120 to 130,000 first with a minor pullback back down towards current levels? This is the time where I wish I could tell you perfectly what the next move for Bitcoin will be. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. All I can do is talk to you about the charts, talk to you about the news, lay out the probabilities, and lay out information that you can utilize to make your own informed decision. If you're wondering what I am doing, I am not selling any of my Bitcoin at this time. I do think that another rally should be on the radar very soon based off of the news and based off of shorter time frames on the charts. But with that said, I do remain in a slightly cautious, optimistic zone, and I'm ready to pivot my decisions if something major changes in the news or on the charts. Speaking of a major pivot, let's go take a look at the Bitcoin Dominance Chart that did have a mishap over the last week. If you guys have been watching the channel, you know that we were tracking a rising wedge pattern on Bitcoin Dominance that should have sent Bitcoin prices back down towards 62%. But we let you know if the resistance level was broken, we could go all the way towards 66. And that's exactly what ended up happening here. We got this one wrong. The bearish formation ended up breaking bullishly, and we did go slightly above 66% late last night. And even though right now we have a pullback on Bitcoin dominance, causing some altcoin holders to become extremely bullish about alt season once again, turning the former resistance level into support is not something that we want to see here if you're a fan of altcoins. This is a very classic pullback pattern, and unless we end up losing this level and dropping back down below 65%, this is a case where we could see Bitcoin dominance continue to move to the upside. Once again, I cannot predict and tell you perfectly which way it's going to go, but I'd want to make sure you're clear here if you are bullish on altcoins. If you do think Bitcoin dominance is about to collapse, that's okay to have that prediction, but just know there's also a possibility this support ends up holding and Bitcoin dominance climbs once again. I also told you guys last week that Ethereum would be the #1 altcoin to watch for predicting altcoin season. And last week, we were in a very bullish formation that I told you as long as we stayed above this green line, the bullish potential for altcoin season remains highly likely. Well, what happened over the weekend? We lost green support. We pulled all the way back down towards $2,100. And even with this recent rally causing a lot of people to become optimistic, you can see we are simply rallying back up towards a former support level and possibly turning it into. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic. If I go to lower time frames, just like Bitcoin, Ethereum is sitting in a bull pennant pattern that could send the price all the way back up towards $2,600. But I'm also very aware that this could be utilized as heavy resistance. And if it is used as heavy resistance, a price much lower still could be coming for Ethereum, at least back down towards 2,000, if not lower. I will keep you guys updated on the daily basis on what is going on here. So make sure to stick around with the channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you're aware of all the new updates on the charts. But for right now, I want to make sure I'm very clear with my positioning. I do not know what is going to happen, but I am expecting and I'm going to act as if a bullish rally is coming down the road. I'm going to continue to hold my long-term bags while trading very cautiously, waiting for signals to show me when to short and waiting for signals to tell me when to buy. I highly recommend you continue to educate yourself on how to read the charts and how to read the news to make your own informed opinions. Before I let you go with the charts, I want to give you one more reason to be optimistic and bullish about what crypto is doing. For that, we got to go to the oil chart, where oil has collapsed over the last weekend, dropping from as high as $77 a barrel all the way back down to 65. Why is this such a big deal? Because the concern from the bears trying to convince people to sell their crypto was that this war between Iran and Israel could lead to oil prices shooting up over $120 a barrel. If that was the case, gas prices would skyrocket, bringing a massive inflation and potentially even interest rate hikes from the Fed. Under those conditions, where more money is being sucked from the market than given back, risk on assets like altcoins would bleed miserably. This caused several people to sell prematurely and get out of those positions for fear of massive oil prices rising. But instead, they have come back down even below the levels when Israel first attacked Iran. So for that reason, all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or otherwise known as FUD, coming in and leaving, there's a lot of reasons why a manipulative play was in order. And this is one of the biggest reasons I continue to believe that altcoin season could be around the corner, that Bitcoin is going to perform well, and I'm going to continue to invest based off of that thought process. But again, nobody knows for certain. If this weekend taught us anything, it's that the super bulls can be wrong. The super bears can be wrong. This is a market of chaos and manipulation. And because of that, you got to stay on your toes and stay up to date every single day with what is going on, because you never know when a twist or a turn is coming. One of the best ways you can do that is by making sure you're following the bros, not only here on YouTube, but also on our X platforms. All those links can be found in the description down below. Make sure you're following me at Tims_TA and following the Investing Bros page at Investing Bros over there on X. If you want to go deeper, make sure to join our Discord, where we're giving you updates every single day as well. With that said, that's all I have for you in this video. Make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.